Right to a channel of light fluid. Welcome back to NeveN. We are back in Frostfang again. Now we're going to start a new chapter for Maelbjorn. So, they had a nice day out in the city and we've learned some stuff about Gilliant. What's going to happen this time? My night is restless with all the thoughts of my excursion into town with Maelbjorn. I must say it's a change for me to be able to think of something pleasant for once. And the next day, early in the morning, I hurried to get ready in order to return to the prince. Through the window I realised the weather is gloomy. Looks like we're in for a storm today. Not that I mind, on the contrary. This kind of weather inspires me like no other. Once in the courtyard, I'd seen many workers toiling in the rain, carrying beams and other pieces of worked wood towards the ramparts. What's going on to make such a commotion? My curiosity wins out, and I follow the line until I'm at the top of the walls, where I find the prince accompanied by other anthracans around a wooden contraption. The bear himself puts his hand to the work, assembling the pieces brought to him while chatting with the others present. "Well, prince, you didn't tell me you're a carpenter." The bear looks up and smiles at me as he looks at the apparatus with some pride. "It's engineering rather than carpentry, but let's just say I've learned a couple of things about it, yes." "And what's that?" "A ballista. It's made to shoot from..." "I know what a ballista is. I've already seen one before. But let's just say it's not complete yet, so it's hard to see what it is." The engineers accompanying the prince look at me grimly when they see me cut Maelbjorn off, so he walks away and motions me to follow him. Once a little farther away from prying ears, I cast an interesting glance at the ballista. So all this wood being used for this one weapon? "The whole line, you see, yes. We're going to assemble some more all along the wall." I must confess it surprised me not to see any such defences from the castle, given there were some on the outer walls of the town. "These ballistae are ancient. They're installed on these walls before the reign of Aeon and Lusk. But the fact that siege weapons were turned towards the city did not send the right message, according to the kings. It was a reminder of the power of the strong over the weak. They wanted to embody a new form of kingship. So they had everything dismantled once the civil war was over. Until today." "Is the situation that bad?" Let's just say we prefer to prepare for the worst. But you don't have to worry, everything's under control." I'm well aware that he's just saying that to reassure me, and nothing is certain at this stage, but somehow it's working. Seeing all these people making this effort to defend me warms my heart. It shows that they're counting on me. "Can I help?" "Eric, I don't doubt your abilities, but..." "I wasn't about to offer to carry huge beams on my frail little shoulders, if that's what you're worried about." He laughs and shakes his head, all the while clearly a little confused. "I do improvise a little something, just to put your writing lessons to good use." "What exactly do you have in mind?" "You'd be surprised how much rhythm there is in handwork. I've heard loads of songs born in mines or fish-cutting workshops. And thanks to music, a rhythm can become a motivator. It makes hard work a little more bearable." So, I get up, grabbing a wooden bucket before going downstairs. Watch and listen. Stage. I need a stage. Ah, a table. Perfect. As I hoist myself up on it with my improvised instrument, the curious eyes of the workers turn to me. Showtime. "I'd like to thank all those who work so hard. The one who builds our walls, the one who stands guard. There would be no kingdom without these braves, who many ungrateful fools treat like slaves." As I sing these words, I bang on my bucket in steady rhythm. Not exactly the best of instruments, but I'll soon have everything I need. "They are the first to rise in the morning, yet have no time for joy, sorrow, or mourning. Then they're the last to go to bed at night. They never see the sun, yet they are our light." The workers still seem a little puzzled by what I'm singing to them. They don't realise that the magic's already starting to happen. Their breath gradually aligns with the rhythm of my makeshift drum, and the sound of wood piling up is like an extra percussion that naturally adds to my tune. Their spirit stronger than the pine they haul, overwhelming tasks and yet they stand tall. Workers of Frostfang, we owe it all to thee. They say that I'm the hero, but I'm your devotee. As I catch my breath and continue singing, a bull approaches me and places a small plank on the table, giving me a knowing look. I suppose I should take that as an invitation. After jumping off the table, I grab the piece of wood for joining the line of workers. The one who gave me the plank then starts humming my tune, and gradually it's on everyone's lips. The only music that remains is that of work punctuated by the movements and sounds of everyone's effort, forming a veritable orchestra that functions in absolute symbiosis. So we work until the ballistae is fully assembled, and the engineers and workers go away, leaving me alone with Maelbjorn. That's when I realise he's watching me with a touch of pride in his eyes as I struggle against the muscles that tug at my body.
You didn't tell me you're a born leader.
Watch and learn, dear prince. I sprawl against the ballista, blowing at a huff while trying to keep a smile on my face. I wouldn't do this every day though, it's more exhausting than training.
Maybe your training isn't intensive enough then.
I take that back, my workouts are absolutely exhausting. The prince gives me a mocking look as I do my best to sit up straight. Anyway, it was fun, but I'm not here to build ballistae.
Have you got any plans?
I thought I'd go and see Akhet and continue my research into,
The talk with our two mutual friends didn't go anywhere, I suppose?
Let's just say they are indeed suspect. I'd be hard-pressed to say which of them is more so.
Agreed. We come to the same conclusion in that case.
Perhaps. Well, that said, something abnormal happened when I was with Astrid.
Oh?
Someone was listening at her door while we were talking.
That's interesting, though I'd avoid jumping to conclusions if I were you. A lot of people might want to spy on Astrid, given her unique position at the court.
Imagine that's why she wanted to take care of it herself. She didn't want me to get my nose into her business. I thought you'd be more worried about there being spies in the castle.
Well, let's just say it's part of everyday life, and we also take part in it. The trick is not to get caught.
What a wonderful lifestyle. If it's part of everyday life, I'd rather not know what's unusual.
The appearance of a brand of the Forgetful Ones, for example.
Ha, ha. The prince winks at me before straightening up.
Well, that's not all. I've got a whole bunch of other ballistae to put together. Come and see me again when you've got time. Oh, and say hello to Akhet for me.
I will do. And with that, I make my way down the stairs back to the courtyard before sneaking through the corridors of the castle, hoping to find the falcon there. Fortunately, there's hardly anyone but workers around at this hour, so I slip through with ease to the living quarters. The door to Akhet's room opens almost instantly after I knock, as if he expected me to drop in. Eric. Hey, how are you? The falcon grabs my hand without answering so he can drag me inside. He has a sort of joyful and excited look in his eyes as he pulls out a sheet of paper that he puts in front of my eyes. Look at this. It takes me a little while to decipher it all, but eventually all the words appear clearly. Seasonal concerts, birthdays, tour of the kingdom, annual music festival? What is it? A list of ideas for events that you and I could organise. I blink as I'm brought back to the reality of my existence as a royal bard. It's an interesting initiative, but it's particularly ambitious. I think everything that's happening has given me a new perspective on life, that's all. And it's what you wanted too, isn't it? To have a big audience, be known throughout Frostfang. That's true, even my head is elsewhere at the moment. Seeing Akhet's slightly worried look, I smile at him as I grab him by the talons. I've already told you not to worry about me. Besides, I've also been able to think of something on my own. Oh? I wasn't completely at peace with writing until Maelbjorn taught me the basics. And I've realised I've still got a whole universe to discover thanks to this. So, I decided I'd like to encourage the kingdom in its literacy efforts. I'd like to give others the chance that I didn't have. That's a great idea, but But how are you going to go about it? Well, through songs. How can you learn if you don't have fun? It fit perfectly the idea of a tour of the kingdom. Can you imagine you and me with a troupe of musicians travelling around the country educating people with songs? Ooh, that could be fun. And who knows, maybe we could persuade Astrid and Sven to join us and make a merry band. The falcon suddenly looks at me with a much more puzzled expression, and I can't help but burst out laughing. Sorry, that was too tempting. Yeah. While slapping me on the shoulder, Aket laughs, shaking his head. Oh, by the way, speaking of Sven, I passed him in the corridor, and there was something weird about him. Believe me, I know him, and he's an everyday weirdo. He is Sven, after all. No, but he's walking strangely. I'm sure there's blood on his trousers. Blood? Before the birdies have time to nod, something occurs to me. When was that? Oh, yesterday, late morning, I'd say. And where did he come from? Eric, is there anything I need to know? Well, I'd say that someone's listening at Astrid's door when I was talking to her. And what you're saying could well coincide. In any case, I wouldn't be surprised if Sven did it. Well, he was coming back from the nobles' quarters, yes. That filthy, shit-eating, buffoonish bastard. I have to find him, immediately. On these words, I stand up while extending my hand towards Aket. Wait for me here. I'll be back as soon as I get this sorted out. As I leave my musical partner's room, his last words reach my ears. Don't do anything rash, please. Oh, that I can't promise. As I dash through the corridors of the castle, I think about how to proceed. I'm not getting the prince involved. Not now, anyway. I have very personal matters to settle with Sven. He's probably in the throne room by now, clowning around to entertain the kings. In that case, I'll wait for him on the way back to his room. I know he comes back there for his meal. I need somewhere out of sight. Yes, there, perfect. A nook with a sort of storeroom where the castle staff keep a whole bunch of tools. For long minutes, I run through a whole bunch of scenarios in my head. How far am I going to go? What kind of questions am I going to ask him? Then I start to have doubts. What if I'm wrong? Maybe it's just a coincidence. No, Sven is the perfect agent to hire to follow me. He hates me. He'd take any opportunity to bring me down to take my place. I need to confirm my hypothesis. Besides, there's no way I'm letting him off easy if it is indeed him. Through the crowd of people marching past me, I finally see a sullen, ugly mug as he shuffles down the corridor. Head down, stare evasive. In other words, this is clearly not his usual behaviour. Slowly I slide my hand over the hilt of my rapier, and then at the bend of the corridor I take the opportunity to charge Sven in order to push him into the storeroom. Yet as a cry of surprise he stumbles to the ground, while I close the door with a swipe of my leg, while pulling my sword from its scabbard to point it straight at his throat. What the? Shut up. If you activate your brand, I'll stab you. Got it? Even though he's giving me a menacing look, I can see from his trembling that it's just an attempt to throw me off balance. What the fuck are you doing? Are you sure you want to play this game with me? To back up my words, I step on the spot where I think he's been heard, and it makes the weasel squeal in pain. Before it's time to finish, I push the tip of my rapier against his throat so hard the blood pours out. You're spying on me. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Try that again. I won't touch your wound with my paw, but with my weapon. What were you looking for, eh? Sven remains silent in response to my threats. You know, I only have to say one word to the prince to get you hanged. Not to mention that Lady Astrid now has a score to settle with you too. So what? I tell you more now, you're going to spare me? We both know you'll have to tell that prince eventually. Well, I can put in a good word for you if you tell me everything. Oh yeah? And why'd you do that, huh? Because as much as I want to kick your ass until you learn not to fuck with me anymore, I don't want to be responsible for your death. Once again there is silence as we look at each other. You always want to be the best in everything. And maybe if you avoided comparing yourself to me, we'd all be better off. Now spit it out. It's Edwine. He asked me to have you followed.
I don't know how much I should trust what Sven is telling me. What I am certain of is that it could indeed be the truth.
Oh, why is that?
I don't know. I wasn't in a position to ask anything.
You should ask yourself a bit more questions about... Suddenly there's screaming from outside, and Sven is as startled as I am. My whole body goes tense as I listen, and the cries intensify. Fear and pain. I've heard that before.
What the?
Shut the fuck up. The shouting doesn't stop, so I decide to sheath my rapier, giving the weasel a menacing look to let him know I don't intend to hold back if he tries anything. Then I press an ear against the door. Suddenly, all I hear is silence. Well, not exactly. The screaming has died down. There's like wet noises, followed by a long growl so deep it rattles my eardrums. As Sven is about to get up, I put a finger to my lips while shaking my head to let him know this is not the time. What's going on? Are we under attack? Even if things end up completely silent on the other side of the door, I'm waiting. I don't know exactly what, but it's as if I'm afraid something will jump out at me as soon as I cross that doorway. And after a moment that seems eternal, I find the courage to push open the door, which jams almost instantly. Shit. It's then with total spite that I turn back to Sven to ask him in a whisper, "Help me push it. There's something blocking the door." He looks more than relieved that his case has become secondary in my eyes, and immediately comes to lend me a hand. And two of us manage to push the door open while I almost slip. On blood. I hardly have time to realise it when I see all the corpses around us. My stomach almost goes through my mouth when I see the open bellies and viscera on the ground. And at the same time, a reaction I know all too well takes hold of my body. The heart pounding, the breathing getting shorter and shorter. I'm nothing more than prey on a hunting ground. Breathe, Eric. You need to regain control. Now is not the time. Looking around, I can hardly tell exactly how many bodies surround us because of the mangled limbs that cover the hallway.
We gotta get out of here.
To where? A whole bunch of thoughts run through my mind. The prince's office? It's hardly more protected than the rest of the castle. What are you thinking, Eric? Whatever happened, it happened in the castle. No amount of defence is going to change that. I'm looking around. Any survivors? No. No one to tell me what happened. All we seem capable of is standing among the corpses.
Come on, pull yourself together.
We need to find Maelbjorn and the kings. The guard will protect us.
Oh yeah, okay.
I then fumble my way forward to avoid stepping on a piece of corpse or slipping on the blood staining the ground. It's strange. I feel like I'm in a nightmare, but I can't get out of it. I was warned that all this was a possibility, that war was just around the corner. While my thoughts wander, I try to keep an eye on Sven. Would he be able to stab me in the back if the opportunity arose? I must prepare myself mentally to fight, to kill. But sparring is one thing. Sticking my rapier into someone's flesh is another. My senses have never been so awake, because every sound, no matter how small, reaches me, and every hair in my body has become ultra-sensitive to the slightest draft running through the castle. When I reach the end of the corridor, I hear a hissing sound. That of a reptile? No time to understand. I run away from the noise without even looking to see if Sven is following me. And just behind me, the sound of claws scraping stone pursues me, while a bestial growl closes in much faster than I can outrun it. Suddenly, beneath my feet the ground shakes, and I see the cobblestones moving before I hear the howl of the thing chasing me.
Run!
And that's what I keep doing, only this time neither the clawing nor the growling follows me. I don't even realise it. I'm heading for Vekat's tower. I don't even know whether I hope he's there or not. Fortunately, the door is open, so I sneak inside without waiting. What are you doing, Eric? Have you lost your mind? I don't know. Can I stay and wait for it to settle down, or maybe... Heavy footsteps echo down the corridor again, and I recognise a distinct sound of claws scraping across the stone. I need to find a hideout, fast. In my haste, I nearly get my paws caught in some chains lying on the floor before staggering towards a barrel, the lid of which I lift immediately. It's full of the viscera of animals hunted by Vekad, and the mere smell forces me to cover my nose. No time to think. I dive in as discreetly as possible and slip between the intestines, which make a wet, slimy noise as the scarlet water in the barrel rises to the level of my neck. By the gods, I'm going to... It's hiss. That thing is in the room. Every step it takes makes the barrel rattle, and I realize I'm praying as some kind of growl sounds not far from me. Slowly as I can, so as not to make any noise, I grab my ears and plunge my head into the water so as to immerse myself completely in this filthy mixture. If panic didn't control my actions, I would never attempt this, but with any luck, these nauseating fumes can cover my smell. Please, by all the gods, I don't want to die. Not here, not now, not like that. I don't even know if the creature sensed my presence. I don't think opening my eyes in this stagnant water would help me see it anyway. But I'm not going to be able to hold my breath forever. My body shakes, making it almost uncontrollable as fear makes my mind spin in every possible direction. Should I fight? Run away? In this situation, it's impossible to activate my brand. So I reach nervously for my belt to find the hilt of my rapier. Probably only got a few seconds of air left. So it's with a knot in my stomach that I grab my weapon and slowly pull it out of its scabbard. I open my eyes and see that above the barrel snout is forming. My heartbeat's going to rip my chest out if this keeps up. I wonder if I'm not going to drown, if I'm unable to get myself to this cramped, reeking place that is crushing my body. Come on, Eric. Find this fucking courage! Then the yellow eye of a bird of prey stares back at me. Now! Blade forward, I hurl myself from the hiding place, spitting out my lungs. I use all my meagre strength to thrust the tip of the rapier into the eye of the monster facing me. A phase of my mind refuses to comprehend what it is as it begins to roar in pain. Scales, fur, bone? No time to understand. Take your blade and run, quickly. I'm crawling forward for I manage to find a foothold to stand up. No sooner have I passed through the bedroom door than the clawing noises start up again in earnest. I won't have time to... Sven appears in front of me, his brand glinting under his clothes, and a shattering sound comes from behind me.
Let's get out of here.
Still in shock, soaked, stinking and shaking, I blink as I turn to see the door collapsed. For a moment, it's as if everything's settled. Then the scratching starts again. The weasel grabs hold of my arm and pulls me along. That's when I start running alongside him. Even though in these corridors, I still feel like I'm completely lost. Luckily, all I have to do is follow Sven. If I'd known my life would be saved by that bloody fucker. My heart sinks every time I turn a corner. Feels as if the monster could appear from the shadows at any moment. What was that? Did you get to see it? The weasel doesn't answer, just keeps running for what seems like an eternity, while leaning against the wall, catching his breath.
No goddamn idea what that thing is. It's big and fast.
That doesn't help. He looks at me with a sort of reproach in his eyes.
You owe me one.
Huh?
I saved your ass twice. You better help me in return.
It pains me to let him get away with it. I probably wouldn't be here right now without his intervention. Come on, swallow your pride, Eric. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I have to explain this situation to Maelbjorn. We've got other things to worry about at the moment.
Shall we set aside our verbal jousting and all that crap as well? For fuck's sake, Sven, are you serious? This isn't the time for that. If it's not the time now, it'll never be. So, what do you say? I'll forget all about your cheating.
Maybe it is a lie, but I certainly don't intend to discuss Sven's every whim in the middle of what appears to be a battlefield. At least he seems to be satisfied with my answer and resumes his run through the castle.
Anyone can help us, I'll be in the throne room. That's where I last saw the kings.
It suddenly strikes me. Maelbjorn, Hackett, everyone. Are they safe? I pass the weasel in the hope of getting an answer to that question, while a whole bunch of scenarios run through my head. Imagine them among the corpses, chopped up, scattered.
For fuck's sake, mind, stop thinking about that.
No, they're alive and whole, and you'll make sure they stay that way. Fortunately, at this pace, it's not long before we arrive outside the entrance to the throne room. There were over 20 guards around the door alone, and they're on the alert. It's clear that everyone already knows about the attack. When I approach, the warriors seem wary at first and draw their swords, even though I know several of them. Are they taking me for a potential enemy? I raise my arms and Sven stops beside me. Then we spend long seconds looking at each other.
Lower your weapons!
Gideon crosses their ranks with vivacity and pulls me by the shoulders to get me inside.
Gods, we all thought you were dead.
Nice to see you too, Gideon. Is everyone what? Before I have time to finish my sentence, I have my answer. A good 100 Anthracans are scattered all over the throne room. There's a distinct bustle in every corner of the room. Some of them are lying on straw beds while priests of manually tend to their wounds. Others are standing as best they can and waiting their turn to be treated. So I try to find a trace of my companions. A few drops of water fall on my muzzle. So I lift my snout and realise they still haven't fixed the tinted glass in the ceiling. Which makes me think every time my life takes a wrong turn, this is where I end up. This room brings me bad luck. These thoughts are interrupted when I finally catch sight of two very distinct groups glaring animatedly at each other. On one side stand Astrid and Edwine, debating with some well-dressed people, other nobles probably. On the other, royalty and its servants, with whom stand the prince, but also Akhet and Tenoch. Deep down I can't help being relieved to see them, even though shame gnaws at me when I think that others have died.
Eric!
The bear's eyes light up when he spots me. He only smiles as I approach him. You see, you had nothing to fear. I told you he was a resourceful rabbit. Akhet doesn't say a word, but he gives me a hug, which I give into completely, gradually letting go of the knot in my stomach. Even if he doesn't express it, I can sense in the bird's trembling and he's scared, just like when we escaped from the bandits who are threatening us. And I can't help pat him on the back to try and reassure him a little. There, everything will be alright. With difficulty, he detaches himself from me and looks me up and down, expecting me not to have returned in one piece. I've been worried sick about you, all those deaths. You're going to be that easily, birdie. Just as I manage to coax a small smile from the bird, I catch a glimpse of Maelbjorn's huge frame approaching. I can see he's doing his best to keep his cool. The look in his eyes tells a different story. He was scared too.
Eric, I'm glad to see you alive.
The urge to hug him is strong, but I know it wouldn't be proper to do that with the prick. Suddenly the bear wraps his arms around me and pulls me close.
I should have been there. I should have acted.
Intrusive glances are turning towards us, particularly from the group of nobles. One thing is for sure, this emotional display doesn't please them in the least. Even the kings don't seem very comfortable with it, but it's out of the question to push their son away. What's going on, Maelbjorn? I saw a monster and lots of dead bodies. This time the bear grabs me by the shoulders and looks at me with clear hope in his eyes.
Were you able to see our enemies?
Seen is a big word, but I think I managed to hurt that thing. I think I surprised the prince. Or is it pride? Whatever it is, he draws me in the direction of the kings who are seated on their respective thrones, while they look at me with a sort of relief. I was unexpected to see you back with us, but your presence delights me, Eric.
Especially as we shall need you sooner than we thought.
I don't think I'm ready for... Maelbjorn steps past me, positioning himself between the kings and me for interrupting.
We're in good time. Eric's encountered one of our enemies.
There are several of them?
That's what we think, yes. Been a surprising amount of coordination to eliminate the guard patrols on the walls.
Not to mention we sent a battalion of soldiers to retrieve supplies from our food stockpile, and they haven't returned.
Well, my father's implied not only are our assailants probably multiple, the attack seems well thought out. It's like they had informants in the castle itself.
In spite of myself, I turn my gaze to Edwine as a host of thoughts run through my head. Need to find a way to spare Sven while exposing the squirrel's spying. But how? Besides, it doesn't add up from what I've seen. What was chasing me was bestial. Whatever it was, it tore people apart without differentiating between those who could defend themselves and those who couldn't. There's nothing calculated about what that monster did. It chased me like it was a wild animal. His silence hangs as I watch the kings and their son ponder a possibility. That's when I see green scales out of the corner of my eye, and Tennock's voice rings in my ears. Oh, we know the Mercadians sometimes use war beasts, although it seems unlikely they have infiltrated one into the castle. But I've heard of gladiators being magically altered to make them monstrous, so it wouldn't be surprising. Multiple glances turn to Gillian, who nods in silent confirmation of the ambassador's words. Whatever our enemies will besiege in our own domain. In other words, we either stay here in the hope the outside will realise we are missing, taking into account this may result in the deaths of others, or we attempt an exit.
In both cases, it's risky.
It's only now that I realise this. Vecca had Rowan and Semi out here. Excuse me, but where are the other members of the court?
Semi was still in a cell at the time of the attack, so Rowan decided to go and free her, disobeying my orders and ignoring my warnings. Rowan is in town at the Temple of 12. He had been very useful to us here.
And Vecca has gone hunting, which means he might come back to walk straight into a trap. In other words, there's a good chance they'll be the next victims if we don't do something. I can't just sit here twiddling my thumbs. Something must be done.
I agree.
It's a risk that's best considered with great caution.
Especially since many of our guards aren't here, which means they've probably been eliminated.
The king's gaze turns from me to what's going on behind. When I turn around, the group of nobles have joined us, with the warlords at their head, while Astrid and Edwin stand farther back.
Yeah, we would like to speak to the kings. Who are you?
The Lohen, one representative of the Lord of the NeveN.
I don't even know this castle. Probably a minor domain far from any trace of society.
Speak then.
I am standing here on behalf of our group to highlight the many problems faced by your power.
Oh, so they decided to sacrifice someone insignificant to them in order not to get their hands dirty, I suppose.
The old noble families have a complaint. Let them bring it directly to our ears instead of going through some petty lord's representative.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I can see Astrid wincing at his accusation, but gratefully stepping forward to stand next to the walrus. I can't bring myself to represent a nobility, given that many of their members are not among us. They rely on me to represent their views. I wouldn't want to send out the wrong message. And if the thoughts of the Lord of the NeveN are similar to those of the people I represent, that would only be due to pure coincidence, obviously. The poodle shoots a knowing look at the walrus, so I see play nervously with his fingers. It's as if the tension is palpable. I don't know how much the people around me realise it.
Obviously, carry on. How to get the full extent of your lord's thoughts.
The noble gulps. He takes a deep breath of air, uttering the following sentence in one breath.
Soon as your heir attacked Lord Brace, it became clear that your power no longer respects the rules that you yourself had imposed, and despite that, remain quiet.
The silence is increasingly heavy. Some of the nobles look at each other, while the kings remain impassive as they listen to the walrus. Look for any sign of reaction from Maelbjorn, or I manage to pick up his fingers closing around the hilt of his axe.
Of Lady Semi's betrayal, imprisonment, and us attack inside the castle itself are clear signs your dynasty is losing control.
Get to the point.
It's time to give us more decision-making power.
Really? Do you feel brave enough to be a leader right now when we're under attack?
The tiger stands up and points to his throne, smiling at his audience. Go ahead. I hope the place will be warm enough for you. But under your leadership, I doubt it'll remain so for much longer. Hesitation clearly overcomes the walrus, who turns his head to observe his colleagues. Something tells me he hadn't foreseen this possibility.
That is not my intention, my king.
What is your intention, then?
I want you to set things right.
The contours of Aeon's brand suddenly light up and he frowns, looking the walrus up and down. It's easy to ask for solutions, isn't it? It's not so easy to provide them.
You should have trained that bird in combat far more intensively than you did.
This time the tiger approaches the noble, who recoils, which doesn't stop Aeon from moving even farther forward to grab him by the shoulders. Have you forgotten who I am and how I got here? Perhaps you'd like me to remind everyone. Under the walrus, the shadows dance and slide slowly against his body, till they wrap around his arms and throat. Suddenly spasms and writhes painfully, letting out cries that are quickly muffled by the dark hand that strangles him.
Aeon.
Don't worry, Lusk. It's just a demonstration, isn't it? A few broken bones. It can be mended. No one else dares move or challenge what the king is doing. He takes his sweet time rounding the walrus to look each noble in the eye, one after the other. And finally places himself in front of the spokesman to address him in a calm but cold tone. You can't even trust your own shadow. What chance do you have of standing up to me? Then the darkness recedes, and the walrus takes another jerky breath, his eyes still convulsed from what he's just been through. I'll put this faux pas down to the tense situation we're currently in. But make one more, and I shall be forced to take drastic measures to silence the sedition. With these words, the king turns momentarily to pull a small handkerchief from the pocket of his loincloth, while passing over his lips. And when he pulls it back in, I see a bit of red smeared across the cloth. And you back there, what do you think of it? The king turns to us again, stared at every noble, including Astrid and Edwine. And it's the latter who steps forward to answer Aeon. I'm sure our friend just simply want to express his fears about the situation, and... We don't have time for your political doublespeak, Edwine. Either we're all moving in the same direction, or I'll have to look at you as a potential danger looming behind our backs. Yeah, of course, my lord. I simply want to suggest this petty noble speech does not represent our opinion. For a moment I feel like exposing the treasurer. After all, he sent a spy to keep an eye on me. The more I think about it, the more I wonder if I have more to lose than to gain. Spying seems to be commonplace in the royal court, given what Maelbjorn told me in the morning, so I don't even know if it counts as a crime in their eyes. Besides, not only would I be putting Sven in danger, he might deny having worked for Edwine, leaving me alone without proof the Skrill was indeed the mastermind. Not to mention the fact that I'd fueled already a delicate situation. We can't have even more chaos when we're under attack. No, I'll keep quiet for now. Good. Any other dissenting opinions? Might as well get it all out in the open now. We have discussed the situation of Lord Brace. It might be wise to release him and the other nobles in your jails if he's still alive.
No way, he's a
I'm sure we can work something out. After all, if we release him, it would only be fair if we also ended Semi's imprisonment. There's a clear tension in the look the prince sends his uncle. He seems to quickly rally behind it at the mention of the spy mistress. That sounds like a reasonable request to me. The Lord Denoan's representative then speaks in such a hushed voice, it's impossible for Aeon to hear him.
It's a heavy price to pay for a free retreat.
Perhaps I should tell Lord Brace that you don't care to see him free, he who has been so ardently committed to your cause in the past. It is clear that Walrus quickly realizes he no longer has any allies around him and immediately falls silent. Now that your internal tensions have settled, is it possible for us to return to the more urgent subject?
I agree. This is no time for political scheming. As far as we know, the attackers have targeted both nobles and servants of the kingdom. They'll make no distinction depending on your allegiance. As already been said, we're under siege, and standing idly by could lead to more needless deaths. We have to make a break for it and get to the city to bring back more troops. Yeah, it's dangerous. Most of us aren't warriors. We'd only be an obstacle if we were to be a fight. Splitting up would be stupid. Not only would we have fewer brands, but the enemy might attack the least defended group first.
The throne gives a perfect defensive position. It'd be safer for us to stay here. I agree with Edwin on this point. It'd be more prudent to wait here for reinforcements rather than venture out, only to fall into what appears to be a trap. Not to mention leaving a lot of wounded behind. That's a sacrifice I'm not prepared to make. Our enemies don't attack us here because they think they have time on their side. But you're right about one thing. There's no way we're abandoning our people here.
I'd lead an expedition alongside you, King Lesk. Perhaps King Aeon and the prince can stay behind with the nobles and the wounded. Plus a few guards will leave here.
Maelbjorn winces as he looks at the captain with some anger in his eyes.
You know very well I can fight at your sides, Gillians.
Far be it from me to question your abilities, my prince. We cannot afford to put you in harm's way.
With the nobles and the king at your side, I'm sure you'll be able to hold off an assault should it happen.
I'd prefer to be there too, but you're right, Gillian. There are risks I'm not willing to take. This time the tiger turns to me and crosses his arms. Do you feel ready to fight? You're the only one who's seen the enemy, and your brand would be useful to us if you haven't fully mastered it yet. I'm not sure. Looking around, I meet the eyes of Maelbjorn, Akhet, Tenoch, and many others. Hope, fear, anticipation. They all expect something of me. I can't blame them. After all, I owe them a lot, every single one of them. So I have to fight to repay them. And yet, it is with fear that I pronounce these words. Yes, I'll fight alongside you. The Bear King approaches me and places a hand on my shoulder, smiling.
Well, it's time to show these nobles what it means to be a hero. Let's remind them who NeveN's avatar and the Bear King of Frostfang are. Gillian, prepare our best warriors. We need to make our way to the armory to collect our equipment before heading to the prison.
While everyone's bustling about, I join Maelbjorn, who seems to be in a state of inner conflict.
Are you sure that...
Yes, you said it yourself. You regret you didn't act. I can't run away from that responsibility. Not now.
I intend to insist the king is that I come with you.
You shouldn't. Your role is to stay alive and guide this kingdom, whatever happens. Besides, I managed to hurt one of them, so I'm sure I'll be able to defend myself, especially with Gillian by my side. This time the bear looks away with a long sigh.
I feel so useless.
I take him by the hand and stroke his fingers, a smile on my lips. There'll come a day when you alone will be able to lead this country on the right path, and then we will be the ones who will feel useless. This time I can't even get a smile out of the bear. Look, I've been trained for this. If I can't find the courage to fight now, I never will.
You said it yourself, Eric. You're neither a warrior nor a hero.
Well, maybe it's time we became one. The stories of the bards are full of common folk showing bravery when it's needed, so maybe it's time to see how much truth there is in these tales. Without a word, the bear yanks on my belt and looks at me with a kind of approval.
When you first came here, your belt barely fit around your waist. I remember pointing that out to you.
A lot has changed since then.
No, that's for sure.
We look at each other full of sadness, fear, full of every emotion imaginable. There are so many things I'd like to say, but words fail me. Plus, giving my last words would be like accepting this is the end. There won't be another moment to talk with him. No, Eric, you'll have time to tell him anything you want once you're back. This situation would seem almost poetic to me if I weren't in the eye of the storm. Then reality comes back to me. I must warn him about it. Before I go, I have something to tell you. It's very important.
Sure, go ahead.
Reasonably, the NeveN is the one who had Astrid and me spied on. I can't tell you why I think that, not right now, but promise me you'll be careful, alright? For a moment the prince raised an angry glance at the squirrel, but I attracted his attention again by placing myself between the two, hoping the NeveN hasn't seen him.
What?
Now's not the time to try and stop him. You know that as well as I do. The less you know, the better off we'll be. Just be careful with him. Once it's all sorted, we'll deal with this case, okay? All the bear can give me for an answer is a long sigh as he rubs his eyes.
I trust you on that. Have you told Astrid about it?
No, I'm still not sure I want to trust her. She doesn't need to know any more at the moment.
Good. It's better that kind of precaution.
I take a breath, trying to get emotional before tapping Maelbjorn's armoured shoulder. I'll see you very soon, big guy.
Right.
After a long hesitation, the bear leans over and whispers in my ears, holding me firmly by the shoulders. I love you. Take care and come back to me in one piece. I love you too, my handsome prince. I'll see you very soon, I promise. It is with difficulty I detach myself from Maelbjorn, giving one last look before joining Gillian, who's busy chatting with Tenoch in the corner of the room.
Are you sure about this?
I have never been less sure, but the slightest misstep would cost me dearly. Am I bothering you? They both turn their eyes towards me. I see there's definite anger in the captain's gaze. Not even answering me, he walks away and growls, leaving me alone with a somewhat embarrassed lizard. What's going on? He wanted me to come and fight with you, but I can't. Well, it's true you're in the best position to help us in this situation given the power of your brand. What's stopping you? Tenok looks up at the ceiling with a sigh. Ryan sits with my eyes as they answer me. If the Macadians, I don't want to risk a war by getting involved in the fighting. If they learned Khazalian was fighting against the Frostians, it will create irreparable tensions between our countries. So, you are going to watch us kill each other? Look, Eric, I already stuck my nose in Frostfang's business more than enough. The point where my involvement could easily be considered high treason back in Khazal. But if it makes you feel any better, I'm going to stay here and do my best to protect everyone, including your prince. I suppose it's... Eric! I have time to finish my sentence and my breath is taken away by a falcon who suddenly swoops down on me and wraps his arms around me. Don't go with them. Stay here. Hacket's gaze is pleading, and I can't help but smile at him as I hug him back. It's kind of you to worry about me, Hacket. I can't do that. The kingdom needs me. I know I won't convince you, but you better come back or I'll... As the bird struggles to find the right words, I pat his cheek before breaking away from him with an amused wink. You'll kick my ass, I understand. Tenok, I need you to do something for me. Look after Hacket and Maelbjorn, and above all keep an eye on the nobles. I'm afraid one of them might try something. Yeah, that's within my capabilities, I suppose. But if you have anything to tell me that might help me identify their threats... Haven't anything more, no, just trust me. That's all I ask of you. Oh, and Hacket, stay close to the ambassador and the prince, will you? I'm sure a little ballad would do them a world of good. The musician puts on as brave an air as he can, nodding his head before grabbing his lute. Take care, lads. It's time for me to get my hands dirty. Good luck, and come back to us alive. The more people tell me that, the more my mind races. As I walk away to John Gilliant, unpleasant thoughts abruptly plague me. What if I don't come back alive? What am I leaving behind as a legacy? Not much, if anything. I think I wanted to leave my mark on the kingdom through my bardic talents. Are you ready? The captain's voice snaps me out of my torment, and I must admit that it is quite convenient. I try to be. There is no trying. Assume the worst is going to happen and we'll need to fight and kill. You're always so reassuring, Gilliant. The panther grabs me by the shoulders and stares at me with a serious expression. I'm not here to reassure you. Now is the time for our trading to pay off. Understood? It already paid off. I wouldn't be standing in front of you if I hadn't stabbed the monster that was following me. Good. He pats my shoulder and the thread echoes in our ears. You've kept the chainmail from your tournament out of it, I see. A good thing, given our current lack of armour. I always wear it under my clothes, just in case. It means you understand the seriousness of the situation, then. For once, I'm the one raising my eyes to the ceiling and shaking my head. I've been telling you all along. They really do take me for either a moron or a hothead. Right. You'll stay with me during our expedition and you'll support me with your brand. No heroic attempts. You keep your cool and follow the plan. Alright. And if the plan fails? In that case, you have my permission to improvise. Do everything you can to kill our enemies and save your skin. I'm tempted to add, what if saving my skin requires running away without killing anyone? But something tells me the captain won't appreciate this attempted humour. What exactly is our mission? Find the attackers and kill them? No, we're going to be a bit more methodical than that. As King Lusk said, the plan's ahead for the armory first, and that's not far from the prison. That way we can kill two birds with one stone. Some of the guards were resting. They didn't have time to collect their equipment when the attacks took place, and kings tend to stay in their civilian clothes on a regular day. So the objective is to get everyone's armour and weapons, then free the prisoners? That's the first step. Now we need to take control of the gate, and from there we'll bring in troops in the city to retake the rest of the castle. Aren't you worried that some of the prisoners might be uncooperative? I have to admit that the prospect of ending up with a knife in my back doesn't thrill me all that much. Let's just say there are people in those cells who have even less interest in falling into the hands of the Macadians into ours. Those who have a grudge against us, well, good luck to them. If we fight the Macadians at all. That's the most likely hypothesis. We're not going to risk making any others.
In fact, the unlocked Mercadians would even be a relief, so we could avoid a war. The urgency means we have to put these issues off until later. It's time to get going.
The captain rises to his full height, a grave look on his face, then moves towards the troop that has formed up. As I follow him, whereas I'm still finding it very hard to realise I'm going to be fighting for real, probably even against proper warriors. And no matter how hard I try to be brave, the doubt about my ability to win haunts me. Say, Gilliant, how do you stay calm before a fight? The captain looks me up and down. I do believe he understands my unease.
I'm calm on the outside only. It's something else entirely on the inside.
So you never get used to it?
At least that's true for those who have some respect for life. There are natural-born killers out there. I doubt you are one.
A smile appears on the panther's lips. It's a rare gift that, I must admit, warms my heart. And the gods alone know that I need it. Is there a chance I'll die? The captain loses his smile as he nods.
It's a probability. I'll do everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen. If you're afraid of death, make sure you've told the people you love what you want. That way, if you have to depart, you do so without any regrets.
I don't want to do this. I'll come back alive.
That's the spirit.
Finally, reach a group of warriors, and some are still sharpening their weapons. I look at them one by one. Old, young, men and women of all species. Some look more like common folk than hardened veterans. Is this really what's left of Frostfang's best warriors? Something tells me these are just the ones we have on hand. Yet they're all determined. I understand that, like Gilliant, their mind is focused on a single goal. Pushing back the invaders. And that is where we're going to leave NeveN for now. I think that's a really good cliffhanger. But don't worry, we'll be returned to it sooner rather than later. I know what's going to happen next, and I'd like to get to it so you can all see. But coming up in the week, instead, we'll have a short video about spark hearts. And then on the weekend, it's either By Your Hands or it's Spectrum of Hybrids. I've got them both coming up in the next couple of weeks. I don't know which one I wrote down as being first. So that's the next 2 weeks sorted anyway. I'm not quite sure which way round it will be. And then we have more Moonfire Seeker Saga. We have to do some more Remember the Flowers, a bit more Echo. Of course, I want to fit NeveN in soon as I reasonably can here. So there'll be quite a few things coming up through February. I'll let my patrons know when I've worked it out exactly. And speaking of my patrons, yes, the links don't get any better. Thanks to everyone who donates on Ko-fi or Patreon, and also those of you who just watch. It's no point in me doing this if none of you are watching these, so I do appreciate all of you. I also like to give a mention to my top patrons: Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Bastian, Bieker, Brian Hall, Obus Visser, Dissonance, Exact, Grizz, Office Mouse Productions, Ada Korval, Evan King, Kartek, Matt Kenya, Mario Cervantes, Omar, Rafu, Spiderling, Samuto, Tiger Cub, Amaterasu, Lopez Need Coffee, Addy Bear, Greylock, and Lark Huskerton. Special mention to all of them. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. We will find out what happens next before too long. Bye for now.